Hey, what is up, guys? Tyler here with Secureteam. Took the day off yesterday, gathering up some new information. Don't worry, the MIB did not snatch me up, at least not yet. Fingers crossed, though. I'd really like to meet those guys. A lot of stuff to talk about today, the first of which is this new footage. Telescopic moon video. I will put it down in the video description. You can check it out. This was sent to me by a few different people, and as you just saw, we have some objects that were captured, what looked to be orbiting the moon, or at least coming over the edge of the moon. First, we had some objects appearing over the top, and down below, we had a second object or objects passing over the moon. Now, whatever these things are, they are huge, and they were captured by the YouTube channel SV4Dinos. So check out the original video, head over and give them a like, and yeah, it's definitely nothing we haven't seen before. These objects are up there. I would think these objects would be much, much larger than the orbiters that we have up there currently. So let me know what you guys think about this footage. Another interesting lunar finding was emailed to me by a viewer. This is taken from Google Moon, and here's the zoomed out version. And we have some craters here, and there were actually a few anomalous things. The first of which is in this crater over here to the right, where we see what appears to be a large rectangular object casting a shadow, sitting in the center of the crater. Could this be a rock formation? Yes, but the sort of rectangular nature of it is what kind of made it stand. It almost looks like it's an object sort of lifting up off of the surface, as you would see sort of with like a plane taking off. But what was really interesting is the crater over to the left here, and the viewer pointed this out. We have this crater, and then if you look down to the bottom, we have a very strange triangular object kind of popping up out of the shadow, and it looks very sharp, very defined. And you know what this kind of reminds me of? It sort of reminds me of the monoliths that we found on Mars, as well as Mars' moon, Phobos. The one on Phobos, the top of it had a very similar shape to this one, sort of like a triangular shape that you're seeing here. And you can see it just kind of raises up off the ground. It's like a large carved out statue. That's what a monolith is, a large sort of rectangular or square, or in other words, a large raised object off of the surface. So this is the one that was caught on Phobos. Here is the monolith that was captured on Mars that we've shown you before in other videos of a more square cut, elongated object. Just sitting in this empty Martian terrain, casting a long shadow. Some have said these are sort of like alien monuments or a relic of an ancient civilization long since wiped out or moved off planet. So it's similar to this object here. Whatever this object is, it's definitely poking up out of the shadow. The sun is coming down from the bottom, shining down, so the inside of this crater is in shadow. So whatever these objects are that are coming up out of the shadows, they're having to raise up all the way up out of the crater in order for the sun to hit them. Whatever this object is, it is towering up and out of this crater for the sun to hit it that way. So let me know what you guys think about that. So before we continue, I want to show you guys something really cool that a viewer sent over to me on Twitter the other day. And that is the fact that we were featured in a Czech magazine. By Czech, I mean Czech Republic, which is a country in Europe, Central Europe. And the magazine, you're seeing the photos here that he emailed over, is called Enigma. And it's a sort of a mystery investigation type magazine. And we were featured, here is the page from that, in the magazine. And I thought this was just awesome. So we've hit the big time, guys. We are officially famous, and I just want to say thanks to the viewer who sent this over, and thanks to the creators of this magazine. That's really awesome. Thank you for the shout out. Now, on to some UFO footage, some things that the government is doing, as well as some findings as to what may have caused the extinction of the dinosaurs and the overall havoc that was wreaked on our planet a couple 100 million years ago. But we'll get to that in a minute. The first of which is a video of yet another one of these glowing orbs appearing near a lightning storm. So check this out.
It gets to right about there. Yeah. And that would be the third or fourth one I've seen come from over here. Yeah.
All right, so this was sent to me, captured in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And if you didn't see it, you may need to watch this in full screen mode, and it should stick right out to you. It's this glowing red orb that just seemed to sit outside of this lightning storm, and the source said that it was very strange. There was no rain at all. It was just lightning. And we found that with a lot of these UFO captures, when these things appear, they often don't appear when it's raining. And a lot of these lightning storms will often appear at very strange times, as in when they were not predicted to. There would be nothing said about them coming on the weather service, and it's like these storms sort of appear out of nowhere, and it's really just lightning. There's no rain. A lot of times there's no thunder, and so these large lightning storms will just sort of materialize out of nowhere, and sometimes they will sit outside of the storm. Other times they will move into the storm, into the clouds, and disappear. So we've shown you a lot of footage showing these things, so you can find that in our past videos. So kudos to the source from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Now, speaking of these orbs, which we've been talking about, you're probably getting sick of hearing about it, but I told you guys, I said I'm getting so many videos of these things that I'll be able to show you a couple pieces of footage in each video we post showing these things. So we have some more objects captured in formation, this time over Long Island recently. So check this out.
Why is it moving such ways? Why is it so slow? Why is it not a fucking plane going regular? Like, my bad, I'm a little mad at the moment, but look at that shit, man. Look, that's a plane right there at the bottom. You see the plane? That's regular. That many planes, nigga. What the fuck is that?
Alright, I love these guys. Captured once again in Long Island. Objects sitting in the sky, no particular reason or purpose to them. So I would say, with all the footage I've seen, this is not man-made. This is a phenomenon. Worldwide phenomenon. We've been seeing these things everywhere. A lot of the times they will be in pairs. Sometimes they'll be in fleets. If you remember our last video where we showed you the footage of hundreds of these things moving over the Bronx, New York. And I have yet to see an explanation that would allow us to rule these things out as natural. Now, speaking of these orbs, I want to show you guys some NASA STS mission images that I don't believe we've ever featured on the channel before. Because these orbs, these objects, which in some videos appear metallic, I know that we call them orbs of light here on the channel, but that's just a general description. Just because they glow does not mean that they are necessarily just circular lights, as in they don't have any actual surface structures. Because we've seen these orbs, and in some cases, we've found them to be metallic. However, when they're in our atmosphere, they do often emit a glow. On the other hand, when we have captured these objects in space, they do not emit glows, but they will reflect sunlight. Here is a perfect example in a very controversial image taken from the STS-100 mission, which was back in 2001. And again, I'll put the link to these images down in the video description, capturing what looks like a fleet of these metallic orbs sitting in a straight line, moving over top the Earth. Here is the original image zoomed out, and we will go ahead and slowly zoom back in to kind of give you a general area of where these things are. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. And these were taken, well, this image here. And I'm going to show you another image that's actually seldom mentioned whenever this particular photo is brought up. But these were snapped back in 2001 when the Space Shuttle Endeavour traveled to the International Space Station. And what's strange about this image here is once people started talking about it and UFO hunters identified it, it disappeared off of the NASA website with which it was located. They took it down, which they've done so many times I can't tell you. They've had so many images that they've taken down, especially high-resolution images, where they've taken the high-res version down, and then later on they will re-upload a very low-resolution sort of thumbnail, and that's all you'll have, and you won't have any resolution. And that's what they did here. They took it completely down. So then a few years later, the object reappeared in a different location on the NASA website. It's almost as if they were trying to bury it. But once again, researchers were finally able to dig it out. We found it again back on the NASA website, the link to it down in the video description. And so here is the sort of close-up, contrast-enhanced version. Try to give you the best view of these things. And as I said, these things were captured in a separate image, which is seldom ever talked about. I don't even know if other UFO researchers know about this, but this is not the only image with which these UFOs appear. Here's that second image zoomed out. So you can clearly see they're two different images. They're two different frames. One is frame 48. This one is frame 56. And as we zoom in here, we once again see the same objects, but there are some slight changes from the first photograph. So whatever these things are, they're definitely moving. Now, I want to give you a side-by-side comparison. Here you're seeing both sets of objects from both images, side by side. To the left, we have the first image we showed you from frame 48, and over here we have the second image showing the same objects, which you can see have moved a little bit, and where in which the UFO all the way to the left, or the largest of the orbs, has moved up slightly. It's moved upwards, whereas the first image, they're all in what looks like a straight line. Now they look a little bit uneven in this second photo, and the far left orb at the end of the line has moved up. So these things are without a doubt moving. As I said, one of the most mysterious photographs that we have captured above Earth. So these orbs, as we call them, are not limited to Earth alone. They've been seen many times in space. There's a lot of activity happening up in space. And that brings us to the recent launch of 2 secret surveillance satellites that were just launched into space by the U.S. Air Force. Yesterday, on the 19th, in fact, 2 satellites, as they're calling them, for the U.S. Air Force's Geosynchronous Space Situational Awareness Program, lifted off atop an Alliance Delta IV rocket. Were shot up into space, and once in space, if everything goes to plan, are going to take up positions in a region of space about 22,300 miles above Earth, which apparently is an area of space that houses, quote, critical military surveillance and communication satellites. So what these satellites apparently are being sent up for is to watch out, basically to watch space, to watch out for anything that may pose a threat to the Earth or to other American satellites that are in orbit. And you know what, we've talked about these secret surveillance satellite launches before, and how we've been seeing a lot more of these things being launched lately, as if there were an outside threat that we were needing to monitor. Maybe not a threat at all, but just activity that the U.S. is wanting to keep its eye on. If you remember, a few months back, we did a story about another secret satellite that was shrouded in mystery, and the mission was called NROL-37. And the purpose of that mission remained classified, and we have no idea what they were using it for. All that we were told was that it, quote, supported national security. Now, if you remember, what was strange about the NROL-37 mission was that when you went to the web page for the mission, you are greeted with the very mysterious logos for the mission, which contained none other than a black knight. And you're seeing the images from that web page as well as the mission patch here, both featuring a black knight. And if you've been watching the channel or studying ufology, you'll know the significance of the name Black Knight as it relates to the Black Knight satellite, which to this day is said to still be orbiting Earth. The Black Knight satellite, if you don't know, is said to be a satellite or a structure of alien origin. It's not made by us. They detected this thing orbiting Earth long before we had ever launched one of our own satellites, before we even had the technology or means or capability to launch our own satellite. They detected this object, massive object, orbiting Earth, changing direction, and then disappearing. And it's very strange that this secret, once again, surveillance satellite, they wouldn't even say it was surveillance. They said it simply was classified, was using the Black Knight as its official emblem. So again, 2 more so-called secret spy satellites are being launched into Earth. They were launched. They're successfully on their way 23,000 miles above the Earth at this point. And we can only imagine what their purpose is and what they're looking or watching out for out there in space. Now, on to some ocean oddities before we end today's video. We didn't actually report on this, but many of you may have seen it. There was a story going around, featured on a lot of online news media outlets, about these very weird, sort of baseball-looking objects that were washing up on the beaches in England. And people were calling them alien balls, because that's what they look like. You're seeing an image of this here. Hundreds of these creepy-looking, quote, alien orbs that were washing up all over the UK, and nobody had any idea what they were. And, I mean, you look at these things, I mean, if I saw that, I would run. I mean, I wouldn't even want to... That looks like it's going to take a chunk out of my hand if I try to pick it up. But it turns out that these objects are actually not alien at all, but are what is known as a sea potato. And these were a bunch of dead sea potatoes that would washed up ashore. So as you can see, it resembles a potato, hence the name, and it's found along the beaches and coasts of Britain and Ireland. And it's related to sea urchins, heart urchins, and sand dollars and starfish. So it's in the same family, and it has these sort of spines on it that allow it to dig deep underground, up to 650 feet. These things can dig down into the ocean floor. So that's what it was, nothing alien, but a lot of them were washing up. So I guess they still don't know why so many of them were found dead, washing up on the shore. I guess that's the real question, but I can see why some people were terrified when they saw these alien-looking things washing up on the shore. Definitely a really cool thing, though. I'd actually never heard of a sea potato before. So now you know, learn something every day. Speaking of the ocean, though, we have some things that are unexplained and some new findings that were actually emailed to me over by a fellow UFO research channel by the name of Mr. Enigma. Be sure to check out his site. I'll put the link to it down in the video description. He features some awesome work, and he sent me some coordinates that revealed some very large pyramid-like structures off of the coast of New York City. So you go to Google Earth, you go down under the ocean, both sets of coordinates are down in the video description, and let's head down under the water, and we're first brought to this large, triangular, pyramid-shaped object sitting under the ocean right off of New York City. And what's strange is that when you look at these images from above, you see sort of what looks like a trail leading from this pyramid to another pyramid that's just down the shore a little ways. So we're just sort of trying to give you a look around this thing. It's very sharp. It does not blend in with the surroundings. Could this be an undiscovered relic from, again, an ancient civilization? Because the world and the Earth has changed a lot in the last couple 100,000 years, let alone millions of years. And what is now below the sea wasn't always so. A lot of it was above sea level, which was then covered up as time passed by. So we've been discovering a lot of pyramids around the world. They've been discovered in Mexico, China, Russia, And we've been finding more and more of these things under the sea. So now we're going to go to the other pyramid just down the way. This one is not as large as the other one, but yet again, we're in an area of the ocean where you just wouldn't expect to find a large pyramid-shaped structure, especially off the coast of New York. And if you look around, there's no other three-dimensional structures. So again, and this pyramid-shaped object is not very far from the other one. As you'll see, we will move back to the other object, and you'll see what looks like a path or a road that leads back to it. So could this be part of an ancient civilization that used to be above water? Check it out for yourselves. Now, what's even more strange is another finding, once again under the ocean, of what looks like and what is being called possibly an underground secret hangar or an alien hangar of some sort. We don't know. But as you're seeing here, this large sort of rectangular opening in the side of a mountain under the ocean off of the coast of Mexico has been found. It was originally posted by the YouTube channel Mexico Geek. And here we're just kind of giving you an all-around view of this thing. It definitely looks artificial to me. And what would be the point of a massive opening? I mean, if it weren't being used by something. We've talked a lot on this channel about USOs, or unidentified submerged objects. These craft that have been witnessed by countless people blasting up out of the ocean, flying into space, and vice versa. And basically the fact that the ocean would be the perfect place for an alien race, or at least an alien installation, to be found and to go completely unnoticed. So while we are all looking up at the stars and the sky and space, we really need to be researching what's in our oceans, 90% of which are still uncharted, undiscovered. We have no idea what's down there, but we do know that we have found lights, we have seen objects, we have seen some epic strangeness that cannot be explained in our waters. And so let me know what you think of this new finding. Definitely looks like an opening to some sort of underwater base or hangar. It's times like this where you wish you were a professional scuba diver and you had the means to go down there and investigate these things. So hopefully as ufology gets more and more popular and into the mainstream, we will be able to make some connections with people who can go and do it and bring back their findings to us. Now, lastly, but certainly not least, is a new report that has come out wherein which they have found supernova ashes inside of fossils, alluding to a mass extinction event that happened on Earth. So according to a new Space.com article, ash or debris from a supernova, which is what happens when a star explodes, have been discovered in fossils right here down on good old Earth. And what they found is that these fossils contain a variety of iron, which is most likely the product of a supernova event that occurred light years from Earth. And it suggests that the event may have played a very big role in an extinction event here on Earth. So if you don't know, supernovas are powerful explosions of dead stars. When a star dies, it explodes, which is just awesome in and of itself. I mean, it's so cool that we live in this thing called space, where we have these things called stars, and when the stars die, they explode in these massive, beautiful light shows where they throw out burning hot debris and gas for hundreds of millions of miles in all directions. And in fact, they are so bright that they can briefly outshine all of the other stars in their host galaxies when they do explode. So basically what they found is that supernovas generate a radioactive variety of iron known as iron-60, and they've discovered iron-60 in fossilized chains of magnetic crystals of mineral known as magnetite. And so the bottom line here is, well, what they're thinking is that a supernova, at least 325 light years from Earth, blasted the planet with iron ash about 2 million years ago. And they have found this very ash in core samples that they've taken at the bottom of the ocean, which dated back to about 2.6 to 2.8 million years ago. So these are live atoms they're finding from something that happened that many years ago, and it could very well indicate that there was another extinction event that happened on Earth way after the dinosaurs disappeared. And it kind of makes you hope that we don't see another supernova. I mean, we've captured them before, but hopefully we won't see one that's directly in our line of sight. So again, very cool stuff, discovering new things every day. Let me know what you guys think. Strange things captured above the moon, orbs in the sky, as well as above Earth, all of these secret satellites being sent up way out into space, bizarre things happening in our oceans, and more. So thanks for stopping by. Let me know what you think, and yeah, stick around. I've got a lot more coming, and I'll see you back in just a bit. Stay safe, guys.
We'll be right back.